Aubrey, do you enjoy water sports?
I do. I love water sports.
Me
Paddleboarding
too.
is probably my favorite lately. But there's actually not really a water sport that I don't enjoy. I like
Totally.
them all.
I have always loved swimming, mostly in swimming pools because I didn't grow up near an ocean. But anytime my family like stayed in a hotel or we traveled and stayed in a hotel, I spent as much time as possible in the pool, even by myself. Like I just love playing in swimming pools. So today, guys, we're talking about water sports vocab for IELTS. And guys, um, here's the thing, like if you're asked about activities at the beach or water activities or things people do near the water, which is a weird like part two question.
Mm.
You don't just have to talk about, oh, fishing and swimming. There are so many activities and things people do in and around the water. So we are going to blow your mind today with a lot of ideas.
Yes, exactly. This is going to be really fun. There are even a couple that we hadn't heard of.
Yeah.
And that's what inspired this episode, actually, because Sarah, one of our 3 Keys students, posted in our Facebook group. I had a brainstorm challenge every Tuesday where students can think about a speaking question and write a sample. And what she wrote kind of surprised me because she named a sport I hadn't heard of, Googled it, does exist.
So crazy. All right. So let's talk about those two things first. So what 2 activities did Sarah think of?
Yeah, she first talked about sunbathing, which was interesting. She said, this is a popular beach activity, but doesn't count as a water sport. But you can definitely talk about sunbathing. If you're asked about water sports, you say, I don't love getting in the water, but I love hanging out on the beach. Talk about playing in the sand, building sandcastles, sunbathing, definitely.
And honestly, I don't usually say sunbathing. I say laying in the sun.
Or laying out. I'll just say, I'm going to go
laying out. Yeah, totally. And that's not as much of a popular activity today as it used to be in the past because people are
cancer.
more aware of skin cancer. Yeah. So now we have to haul, means carry a heavy thing. We have to haul a huge beach umbrella or a tent or something to the beach so we can be in the shade even when we're at the beach. Yeah. So talking about how activities have changed is also a great filler, guys. And just remember, if the question asks about water sports, but you want to talk about activities on the beach, you can. You just have to explain it and say, honestly, I don't really like swimming. I don't participate in a lot of water sports, but I do love to hang out on the beach and then talk about, building sandcastles. Something that we do in America that I wonder if it happens all over the world, I think it does, is we like to bury each other in the sand. If you have kids, you got to do this. It takes up so much time and it's so fun. You like dig a little hole and then the person lays in the sand. James loves burying me and I love it because it's so relaxing. I just lay there and close my eyes and have like all this warm sand thrown on me. Yeah. And then the weight of it, like it feels so good.
We always will do a mermaid. And so we'll like,
do nice.
Like seashells and then they love it. But like my son, that's his favorite thing. He's like, I want to be a mermaid. Like, yes, you can.
Oh my gosh. That is so cute. I love it. If you can share a picture of your son as a mermaid, we would love that. Maybe if you find it, you could put it in the blog.
We do sand sculptures too. The last time we were in California, we made this huge humpback whale. Like big on the sand. It took all of us together working for hours. Like that was a project.
So awesome.
Really fun.
I mean, that's the thing, guys. Like you can spend hours at the beach just playing in the sand. So Aubrey's talked about, sand sculptures. We build sand castles. I know that a couple years ago, we went to the beach with my brother and his kids. And so we had 3 little boys with us, ages 7, 9, and 10. And no joke, they spent 5 hours digging holes. That's it. They just were digging holes in the sand. They wanted them as big and deep as possible, and then tunnels to connect the holes. All you need is a shovel and a bucket, and you can play at the beach all day.
And
a
then
shovel
it's a minefield. Everyone's walking around breaking ankles, right? Avoid the holes. Avoid the holes.
Okay, so let's get back to water sports. So we've explored some of the stuff we do on the beach, right? But what about the actual water sports that we are asked about on IELTS? What are the options? So the first one, let's talk about what Sarah mentioned, because this was new to us. What's this?
Yes, scurfing, right?
Scurfing.
With a K. So sort of a mixture of skiing and surfing.
Yeah.
And she described it, which would be so smart to do on IELTS. If you're going to use a word like this that might be unfamiliar to the examiner, describe the sport, right? She said it's a surface water sport in which the participant is towed on a surfboard behind a boat with a ski rope. She described that. I'm like, okay.
Such great paraphrasing. And remember, guys, sorry, Aubrey, real fast. You guys have to show your ability to paraphrase to get a 7 or higher for vocab. And so again, like Aubrey said, anytime you say a word, even if you're not sure exactly, the examiner might not know what it is, explain it, paraphrase. You're graded on that.
Yes, definitely. So it's interesting because I first thought, oh, is this, wakeboarding or wake surfing, which I'm more familiar with.
Yeah.
And we looked it up. It sounds like this scurfing was sort of the precursor to those. It existed first where someone would just tow a surfboard behind a boat. And then people were like, this is fun. So they created wakeboards and they created boats that throw up a surf so you can surf right behind the boat. All of which was so fun if you haven't tried it.
Wakeboarding is so hard. I tried it for the first time last summer and it's really hard. Have you tried it?
Yes. And it can be really painful. I ate it once. I fell and my face hit the water and it's like hitting concrete when you're going at high speeds.
It hurts so bad.
So bad. I couldn't see for a while.
So there was a really cool slang phrase, an idiom that Aubrey used there. So instead of falling, if you fall really bad, it's like an aggressive fall, it's like a really bad fall. You say, I ate it. That's in the past. So to eat it is to fall really badly.
Yes, it's so true. And it's really appropriate for water sports.
Totally.
So if you can use this phrasal verb, which is very idiomatic, so fun to be like, oh, I'm worried I'm going to eat it if I do one of these sports, which would really hurt.
Well, even the beach sports we're talking about, like beach soccer, beach volleyball, right? These are things that are super fun that people play all over the world. You can trip and fall, right? We still say oh my gosh, I was playing beach soccer yesterday and I went to tackle someone and I tripped over the ball and I totally ate it. I mean, it works. Anytime you fall, just say you ate it.
Yes, exactly. All right. But there's so many more, right? So we have wakeboarding, wake surfing, jet skiing, which is a motorized craft. I'm sure you see them. They're super noisy and so dangerous. I feel like every time we rent them, somebody crashes one into something, like a dock or another jet ski. Maybe we're just not really good with them.
I love jet skiing. That's one of my favorite things. It's so fun. And then of course, scuba diving. So don't mix up scuba diving and snorkeling. Scuba diving is when you have the tank on your back and you go way underwater, right? And snorkeling is when you have the tube. Watch this on YouTube and you can see us demonstrating, is when you have the tube and the big goggles, right? And you swim just below the surface to look at really cool fish.
Yes, I've gone snorkeling a lot in Mexico
too.
and some interesting places. You see all these beautiful fish, but I've never been scuba diving.
Me neither.
You have to be certified to do it. It's kind of a complicated process, at least in the United States. So I've never gotten there. Me
neither. Do you want to? Do you want to get scuba certified?
I don't think so. I think I have a fear of deep water.
Oh, really?
I think so.
Afraid of it. There's plenty of other things I like doing, so I'm like, I don't have to do that.
Right. If it were simple, if they could just drop you in the water, but where you have to go through the certification and it's expensive
it's very pricey.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So some other things you could do on the water, guys. Parasailing. I've never done parasailing, but I really want to try it. So parasailing is when you are you have a seat and a parachute above you and you're on a long rope attached to a boat and the boat pulls out and as the boat speeds up, your parachute catches air and you float up into the air. So it's like flying. That sounds so amazing to me. I would love to do that.
I know it looks so fun when I see people doing it out on the water. I've always wanted to too. Someday. That's on the bucket list.
It is on the bucket list. I also really want to try kite surfing. So I live in Portland, Oregon, and this is one of the kite surfing capitals of the world.
Really?
Yeah, totally. There's some really famous companies that make like the kite surfing equipment in Bend, Oregon, and maybe Portland. I'm not sure. But when we go, because we go stand up paddle boarding a lot in the summer, and there's a lot of parts along the Columbia River that are really famous for kite surfing, and we get to see a lot of people doing it. It's beautiful to see. So Aubrey, what is kite surfing?
Yeah. So you're on sort of a surfboard and you have a small sail. So it's almost like a mini sailboat that you can control on your own. I've seen people doing it. I agree. I think it looks so fun. I would love to try it.
It's so rad because they'll like catch a wave and they manipulate the sail in such a way that it catches the air, and they literally like fly for like a while. Like so it's fun. Not just like boom, boom.
Right.
It's, oh my God, it's so beautiful. It's so cool. Fun. I bet it's really, really hard. Okay. A couple last ideas, guys. This is an activity that we do on the rivers here, because we've talked a lot about sort of ocean activities, right? Maybe lake activities, but here's a specific activity for rivers. Tubing. Aubrey, do people go tubing in Arizona?
Yes, the Salt River is not far from our home. And even the middle of the summer in Arizona, when it's so hot, on the river, it's quite a bit cooler. So there'll be a lot of people tubing. They'll have like a cooler with drinks, and everyone connects their tubes. We will do the same thing, but on paddle boards, because often if the river's not very deep, you're in a tube, you can hit rocks.
Yeah.
That's the worst. So I'm like, I like the paddleboard, so I don't risk that.
I love it. Yeah. So tubing, guys, tube is short for inner tube, right? Just the inflatable donut. Right. It's a big inner tube, and you put your bum in the middle and you just relax. And yeah, it is definitely an activity that is popular here too. People like, you have you park one car at the end of the route, and then everybody gets into one car and you drive to the top of the route and you tube down the river. And again, you like Aubrey said, you tie coolers to the inner tube. So you have like, cold sodas or whatever, or here it's beer. And then you just float down the river with each other, and it's so relaxing.
Yeah. One note, be sure to remember the keys of the car that you
God.
We forgot one time. We're like ready to go and nobody had the keys. So we had to, one of us, me actually, I hitchhiked with somebody, just asked for a ride, and they took me up to my car because they were going anyway. Like,
oh my God.
The only time I've hitchhiked, but they were super friendly.
I can't believe you hitchhiked. Aubrey, don't do that ever again. All right, guys. So we have talked about so many activities that you can do on the beach, in an ocean, a river, a lake. And even, guys, even if you're not a water person, you got to know that you might be asked about this on IELTS. This is, for some reason, this comes up in speaking part 1 and part 2 all the time. Water activities, describe something people do near the water in part 2. Like, it comes up all the time, guys. So definitely choose some of the activities we've talked about today. And if you haven't done them, think about what you would want to do and why, so you are ready for these questions on the IELTS exam.
Yes, or be ready to describe why you don't want to try any of them.
Totally. Yeah.
Like, your answer can be no, or can be, I don't do any of those things, but you still need that vocabulary. You need to be able to name some of the things that you don't want to try.
That's such a good point. All right, guys, remember that we have a free IELTS quiz for you with free resources. Go to allearsenglish.com/myscore. All right. Awesome. Aubrey, thanks for chatting today.
Yeah. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.